Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Prix Maurice de Gheest preview. So it's slightly difficult to say. Coming from Deauville, over 6.5 furlongs. So it is a sprint for 3 4-year-olds plus fillies, mares, colts, geldings. Anyone is welcome in this race. And it's attracted a really quite excellent field. We've got 11 horses running. French, Irish, actually, no, I'd take that back. French and British sprinters represented. And some really top class horses. We've got 11 horses mentioned, with the biggest outsider at 25 to 1. 3 places each way is a bit skinny when you've got 11 runners, and makes the betting in this market slightly more difficult. But still, it's a very intriguing race, and very much looking forward to talking through it. Daniel, I'll hand over to you. So the ground in Deauville, I find it as an English punter quite difficult to understand what's going on there. Quite difficult when it's glorious sunshine in the UK and you assume Deauville, just not too many miles south of Goodwood, but still it's surprisingly soft. So what does the ground look like this weekend? And also there's the draw has been announced for this as well. Has there been any major news as a result of
that? Yes, so ground, as of this morning, we have, as per France Gallop description for Deauville, bon souple, literally good soft. But, sorry to sound like a broken record. That to me means more like what we'd call good in English. It has been drying out, continue to dry. They expect it to be bon souple à bon, good to soft to good, or you could therefore say possibly on the fast side of good by tomorrow afternoon. We're recording this Saturday late morning, of course, and the race is not till middle of tomorrow afternoon, Sunday. So it will dry. What I think you can safely say is it won't be extremes. We won't have the extreme going that we had. Royal Ascot, for example, Timeform have re-rated some of those races to firm. I don't think it'll be like that, but I don't think it'll be any sort of worrying juice in the ground for horses that want it fast. It's going to be a pretty fair surface. Well, just one thing on that, though. Charlie Appleby, not often you see a man fretting about the ground in 2 different ways for one race. He says, I'm watching the ground for both Shadow of Light and Symbol of Honor. He doesn't want it too firm for Shadow of Light, and he doesn't want it too soft for Symbol of Honor. I think the Shadow of Light will get a really fair crack. If it was too firm for Shadow of Light in the Commonwealth Cup, I think it'll be more ease in tomorrow's ground. So hopefully that won't be an excuse, and he's got therefore quite a chance, so as we'll come to later. Just briefly on the draw while we're on the ground, because last week's Prix Rothschild had what I consider to be a clear ground bias. First 5 horses home, 4 of them were 12, 11, 10 and 9 in a 12-horse field. Only January but that trend. And if you watch the race back, the 3 horses coming up the rail, or closest to the rail, they're kicking up, I'm not going to say clods of mud, but they're kicking up a lot of turf. It was loose there. And there's nothing coming up on the far side as well. So hopefully they've ironed that out and that won't recur, because all your big players here are drawn low. So that's on the rail side. So you've got, talking of the favourite, Lazzat in 3 and Top Gear in 5. Lots of pace from those 2. And in behind them, Inner Sharon in 1, Shadow of Light in 2, Rayevka in 3. So they're going to get a nice, sorry, in 4. They're going to get a nice turn to the race. In the middle of the race, you've got the likes of Regional. That's another pace angle in 8. Tribalist in 9. Sajir in 10, and Vatier held up horse right out in 11. But if there's a bias like last week, Vatier is where you want to be.
Yeah, but potentially not on the right ground for Vatier, despite the helpful draw. But we will get to that, and we'll start with the favourite Lazzat, who he originally opened up at about 7 to 4, 15 to 8 when Ladbrokes and Coral priced it up early yesterday, recording on Saturday today, and then they bizarrely took the market down for a couple of hours and opened it back up at 7 to 4. Has since been punted into 5 to 4, and yeah, he's a pretty rock solid, very, very high class sprinter. He won this race last year by 3 lengths. He's unbeaten over 6.5 furlongs down, and that obviously includes beating some top horses from all over the world, including Satono Rev in the QE2 Jubilee Stakes, I forget the name of that, but the 6 furlongs at Ascot. In that race, in a Sharon, who's one of the sort of second favourites, I think, or third favourites at 9-1, with 6 lengths behind him. Lazat goes on any ground. I think his rating of 118 that the BHA gave him for that race at Ascot probably doesn't him justice, and he should be a very difficult favourite to beat. I'm wondering whether we have some sort of recent sprint syndrome bias where we've just seen so many handicappers winning in UK Group 1 sprints that we're not actually ready to appreciate a top class horse, and therefore can quite easily overestimate or misprice a horse that is just head and shoulders above the rest in this sprint division. I don't know what you make of that argument.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's certainly true in the 5 furlong division. That's a mess, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? American Affair here, JM Jungle there. 6 furlong, of course, in the QE2, you've got, you know, as it were, the 2 class acts on the figures, coming home 1-2. As for Lazzat, yeah, as you say, he's unbeaten over a straight course. He's only been beaten around a bend. He's unbeaten at less than 7 furlongs. I think it's 7 furlongs and less. I mean, there's nothing not to like. His last time out figure, the time form, gave him 125 plus for the QE2, and that's the fastest list in this field by a considerable way. You're down to, you know, in a Sharon's Commonwealth Cup, you know, which is a long time in the rearview mirror. We'll come to him in a minute. So he clearly stands out. There's nothing lot to like apart from the price. As you say, it opened up. I think 2 quite sort of influential people on social media put him up immediately. They went back up 15-8 and 7-4 respectively, and he's now 5-4. I wouldn't have backed him at 7-4, though. On this recording, I would have reluctantly said that's probably value. I'm now firmly back into where I usually am with short price favourites, as in he's too short. This is the best sprint, the deepest sprint I can't say I can remember, though at my age that might not be going back that far. There are multiple Group 1 winners. There are any number of horses who could either A, jump back to their best and be a threat, or progress and put up a lifetime best. So one of those 2 scenarios could see him beat. Lazzat not turning up could see him beat. These things can happen. The shorter distance in a horse race, the more likely a horse is not to turn up, in my book. So that, and what with last week's draw bias, I won't go near him at 5-4. I will let him win, and I suppose he probably will, but 5-4, no.
Yeah. Okay. Slight negativity towards Lazat at 5-4. I think he's a very strong favourite. I think he's head and shoulders clear of the rest here, and the rest all have question marks. Whilst he
Quick question: were he even money to shave off a point? So, and you had to have a bet, and let's say you had a sum of money to bet that really meant something to you. Would you lay him and take the field at even money, or would you take him at even money?
If my hand was forced, I think
guns to your head, James. Guns to your head. You can't sit on this fence.
Maybe that's the optimist in me, but I think I'd back him, and not being a layer historically, so that there might be some sort of biases acting out there. But I think he's, I think he's really quite a strong favourite.
Fair enough. This is good. A good divide.
Yeah, and I think that stance is sort of exemplified by the second favourite being slightly iffy for me. She's 3rd in the Commonwealth Cup at 20-1. And whilst the form of that race is working out well in the UK, is that not just because the UK sprinters aren't up to much? She's only got a rating of 110, and the form of the horses that she's beaten in France, such as Apollo Fountain, really isn't fantastic. And I don't think she's a worthy second favourite, and expect her to drift to a bigger price. What do you make of her at 15-2?
I'm keener on her than you are. I agree. She's very short, and I'm surprised to see her at second. Actually, this was one of the horses I was looking forward to backing, but I assumed you'd get the kind of mid-teen price that you're getting at some of the other horses, which I didn't expect to get a mid-teen price about. But I make the case for her. It basically relies on promise. This is the least exposed horse in the field. She's only had 5 or 6 runs. And what she did 2 back was the best thing she'd done in her life. And then what she did last time was then the best thing she's done in her life. So what you've got is an unexposed filly who's progressing, and that's super dangerous territory. So I get it. I'd kind of be surprised she went shorter than this. I think if you liked her, I'd probably wait. I don't suppose we can hold out hope that someone tonight will decide to go 4 places. But you know, if she went double figures 4 places, I think I would be in. But yeah, she's got it all to do with what she's done so far. But what she did last time was a real step forwards, and I don't know where her ceiling lies. So dangerous, not impossible.
Yeah, I want to follow market. Obviously, she's wearing the wrong silks to go unnoticed, but maybe can drift out to double figures, and that could be an interesting play. But not for me, more so for Daniel. Wood Shauna is next in the betting, best price 8-1. So another 3-year-old whose form is looking very solid. He beat the Commonwealth Cup winner Shanti in May, I think just by a head. And then he won against even arguably more high-class opposition in the Prix Maurice when he won at 12-1. That day was a bit of a bunched finish. And do you think the form of that race is sufficient to take on Lazzat and the elder sprinters?
On the bare figures, no. Wood Shauna's rating is still not quite high enough. But again, this is a very progressive horse, and I wouldn't. I sort of thought 7 furlongs might be too far in the Jean Prat, and perhaps with the ground that made the difference. Now dropping back half a furlong, that helps. Though the converse of that is that now we've got much drier ground for this son of Wooded. So again, I think it's dangerous, not impossible. This is sort of one of the reasons why I can't back Lazzat 5-4. There are so many horses who could take another step forward, but with his 2 best results coming on the softest ground he's faced, and the ground likely to ride at best English good tomorrow, and possibly slightly faster, as in at best for him. No, I'm reluctant. No, but I felt he was dangerous in the preview we did of the Jean Prat, and again, I wouldn't completely rule him out. But yeah, no, not at that price. I think he's got another step forward to take, and I'm not sure about the ground.
Okay, in the Sharon is next. I'm sure you're all familiar with Sharon. Has been playing his trade at top class sprints for the last 2 years. So I think that the only thing to be optimistic about with this horse is the step up in trip by half a furlong. He was heavily supported in the QE2 over course and distance, which he won in the Commonwealth Cup. And he ended up finishing quite a disappointing 7th, where he almost got quite a similar run of the race to Lazzat. He was just sat in behind, but wasn't able to pick up in the last couple of furlongs. And they're therefore really struggling to see any reason why the firm will be overturned. And there's obviously quite a lot of inconsistency with this horse, so he doesn't even make an each way play for me.
I'd agree with his inconsistency. Exactly, it doesn't appeal for a place angle. To make the case for him, starting with a piece of trivia, he's the only horse to dish out a 3.5 length thumping of Calpana. She's never been beaten by that far by any other. It was a long time ago.
It was over a mile, though, wasn't it?
And her jockey, who goes by the name of Ryan Moore, is 1-for-1 on this horse. I think I'm right in saying. So, but no, what you're buying into this, when you get an inconsistent horse, what you're buying into is the possibility of bouncing back, and then, as always, comes down to the price. And what is he trading at? Sorry, I don't have the figures in front of me. Is he around 9-1, 10-1?
Yeah, he is exactly 9-1 best price.
If Sharon runs his best race, I've said purely on the time for figures, only Lazat can beat him. Comes back to that Commonwealth Cup, and incidentally, on the time form figures, he comes back to that Duke of York win when Kevin Ryan said he wasn't fully ready, primed, and fit for that. So I can see the case. I don't think I'll go there myself. There are too many good horses in this race, and as you know, as agreed, there's one sort of potential superstar sprinter who, if he runs his best, then he won't win either. But I do get it, and I always get the case for backing inconsistent horses. But that's the thing; he's got some shockers, and also he was, he had a freakish thing. He was going to run the July Cup, and then we would have known more about where we were at with him after the disappointing Ascot run. But I think he became unshod at the start, and they had to withdraw him. Which was a bit of a shame, but He's now bucking and sprinting and on top form, according to his trainer. Might bounce back. I don't know.
Yeah, it would be nice to see him bounce back because he was a likable horse last year. You mentioned the only horse that could go with him on time form ratings being Lazzat, but I think Shadow of Light on his Guineas form is probably right up there. I know if BHA figures he's actually top rated, and then obviously gets the weight here, so he is doing potentially best at the weights, but not quite showing the same form he was able to produce as a 2-year-old and then in the Guineas. And this season has essentially just been sort of a series of excuses. Had too much pace for a Guineas, too fast to ground in the Commonwealth Cup, and also maybe too short to trip. Then it looked like the stars were aligning. He'd emerged from the shadows in the Prix Maurice, but he actually disappointed again without many real excuses. And is he capable of producing another Group 1 win? And is this a race for him to do that against a top horse like Lazat?
His Guineas performance, if you were to just take 2.5 furlongs out to a furlong out, was one of the performances of the season. I mean, he was level. In fact, I would even say he was half a length behind Field of Gold when the race started in earnest, and within a little more than a furlong, he's leading. He's got a wicked turn of foot, this horse, and again he went from well off the pace in the Jean Prat to leading, and then was worried out of it in the line. Actually lost a couple of places in the last 50 yards or so. I was sort of a bit disappointed by that performance until I've sort of rewatched it. I think he does, maybe he's a horse whose run needs to be timed to perfection. You know, maybe we need to be played a bit later. The Commonwealth Cup, I mean, this is reclassified as firm ground now. We know how fast that was. That might have been the excuse. And whatever the ground will be on tomorrow, I don't think it's unlikely to be anywhere near that firm. So if he can show it his best, and if Buick can time his run correctly, not impossible, but he's just slightly frustrating. It's difficult to get a handle on, isn't it? I think particularly last time, Guineas looked good, okay, mile too far. Commonwealth Cup, okay, excuse, dropped 6 furlongs. Playing around with horses and trips this season hasn't worked for a number of really good horses, and he's one of them. But last time, yeah, he did fade out. Maybe then that was too soft. I don't know. Again, as I feel myself repeating the same 2 words, not impossible.
Yeah, and is 11 to 1 a forgiving enough price then to take into account that possibility?
Yeah, I mean, this is one I would back each way actually. If there were 4 places, probably won't 3. I'd be very surprised if it didn't run well, unless he's unless there's a ground issue. But I can't see that being a problem.
Yeah. Okay. Quite keen on Shadow of Light then, by the sounds of things. Next in the betting, we have the other Godolphin 3-year-olds. This time a gelding, Symbol of Honour. So Tom Marquand is on board, the son of Havana Grey. He probably would have been close to favourite for the Commonwealth Cup, vying with Shadow of Light. So if it were to have run, I'm sure it would have affected where Shadow of Light had run. He went to the July Cup and was third of 5 in his group behind Believing and Big Mojo. So that was obviously quite disappointing. I think he went off quite a short price for that. And looking through his form, I wonder if the reason to explain that run is potentially not going very well at Newmarket. So he finished 6th of 6 on debut at Newmarket, then was 4th of 6 in the Tattersall Stakes, and then obviously 8th in the July Cup. And I appreciate that the July course and the Newmarket Straight Mile are different courses, but they both have undulations. They both have sort of similar pace dynamics. And therefore, I've got sort of 2 questions for you. Form on the July course, does it translate to form on the Rowley Mile? And the phrases horses for courses, does it apply for both the Newmarket tracks? And then secondly, what do you make of him as an each way shout at 16s?
Symbol of Honour.
Yeah. Did I say his name wrong? Or?
Yeah, so no, you did just at the beginning. I wasn't paying attention. I thought, oh, you must be talking about Symbol of Honour now. I want to hear it all through, but I didn't actually catch it at the beginning. Yeah, not all horses do handle undulations in Newmarket, and Deauville's a very different track. I also particularly liked not just his Group 2 win in the Sandy Lane at Haydock, but also his listed win, the Carnarvon at Newbury, with some decent horses in there. So Sayed Darian, for example, Ides of March case become disappointing since. But those two races were both very, very fast ground, and his was running really well in Maidan. Last time in the July Cup, where he went off, by the way, 4-1, second favourite. When was last time? Second favourite in the July Cup. Went on for 16-1 for his next race in a sprint. I just worry if the ground will be fast enough. I think he's a rattling fast ground horse. But as you say, if you take over perhaps undulation issues and you just look at him at his straight conventional track form, you've got a gelding who might yet have more to give. And again, I mean, he's not impossible for the places. I really do struggle to see this one winning in terms of what he's achieved on the track to date. He's yet to prove his Group 1 caliber, whereas so many of these have proved that they have. But in an 11-horse field, he's yet another one that you just can't completely throw out, who may have more to give.
Yeah. 16's of interest for Symbol of Honour. Next in the betting is a horse that I know Daniel has interest in at 16s, and that's Top Gear, because he put out a mispricing alert yesterday. That price still holds this morning with Sky Bet and Paddy Power. So he's a horse that has the potential to run very well, inconsistent type, but he is capable of producing those sort of 120 figures. Disappointed at Ascot last time out, where he was dead last in the 14-runner field. Excluding that run, how does his form actually stack up, and does it put him in with a chance? And I've got a fair idea what you can say to that.
Yeah, with the caveat that if Lazzat runs his very best, nothing else has run to that level, including this guy. But he's one of the ones who's come very close. And last time out is a complete throwout. He's going along quite happily. I think either next to or very close to Lazat, and they're not one, but both his front shoes come off at different times. You can definitely see one of them come off in the rerun. Now, sometimes horses go on to only underperform by a little bit when they lose a shoe. Two shoes happens more rarely. There's no concrete data. It's not an accessible metric in terms of how much it costs. But basically, this horse was eased. He's now. If you ignore that, he's on a 3-win streak. The criterion at Newmarket at the back end of last season, a Group 2 only, but it was extraordinary. He demolished them. And then he was also very, very good in the Prix du Palais Royal in May, easily beating Sajir and everything else. He's a very, very talented horse, and 16s is plain wrong. No, he's not a likely winner, but I've hugely expected him to be priced up at sort of 7, 8, 9, maybe 10-1. And I thought maybe if it's 10s, I'll become interested. I'm interested at 16s. It's too big. I think, like Lazzat, these two may front run, but neither actually is a dyed-in-the-wool must lead or fall in a hole type. So I'm not so much worried about that as I would be if he was an out-and-out front runner. But he's talented, this boy, and I was gobsmacked that the flutter pair, Paddy Power and Sky Bet, went 16s. It's too long.
And is that as an each way play or win only?
Here is where you agonise. I did both. I did both. A large win play, merely because I know that will be tradable later. There's no way he's starting at 16-1, and an each way play, which is kind of against my better rules. As an 11 horse race, you need a very good reason to beat each way, and it's probably not a very good reason. So I have done both, but I'm not necessarily sure I'd advise it. Look, you'll probably lose this money on him, but that's a given. Even if his fair price is 8, 10-1. In situations where you back a horse at 16-1, it should be 8 or 10-1. In the long run, you did very well. It's just there are going to be plenty of times where you're just throwing up your betting slip, and this may be one of them. But this guy is talented, and I think the fact that he had such a horror last time is not fully appreciated by the market.
Yeah, Yeah, it really does showcase actually the difficulty with how this market is shaped with a very strong short price favourite, which normally you look to take on of each way angles, but when just the free places and 11 runner field is the case, it's a lot more difficult. Next in the betting, we've got Vatier, who's 16-1. So I think he ran his best RPR last time out when he beat Spycatcher by 11 3/4, over 6 furlongs at Deauville. But he has never ran on anything better than good to softs. And he's surely not going to get us ground here, is he?
That's my immediate and disappointing thought, because had we had a lot of rain and had it been soft, well, so obviously you wouldn't get the 16-1, you can. But this guy would be a real interest. He was a very talented juvenile, just win until he came up against Rosalian in the Jean-Luc Lagardère on Arc Day. I think he actually came third on that occasion. And it's taken him a while to get back on track. In fact, I think I'm right in saying I don't think he's won since until last time out. There were all these thirds and fourths, but he was very close up. Was he third or fourth in the Champions Day in the sprint behind Kind of Blue? Yeah, he's had other decent thirds. In fact, I think he was third in this race last year, wasn't he? The Maurice de Gheest.
He was 3 3/4.
But the fact that last time he posted a big figure and got a win on the board makes me think this horse is really back now. Maybe he's now only just fully flourishing as a sprinter, having tried over longer early in his career. As you say, the worry is the ground. If that's a red herring, this guy's really interesting. But just to add to the worries, not just the ground, this probably will be the fastest ground he's faced, and his really poor performance just two back was on the firmest ground he's faced in the last 4 races. So there's a worrying correlation between the ground and his running. The other thing is he's stuck right out on the wing. That would have been great a week ago. But with so much the pace drawn low, I wonder if this is going to cut up. It's going to work out for Vatier. Reluctantly, I pass, but this is a horse at the top of its game, and if he decides to handle the ground, he is a player.
Yeah, well, the thing is, we don't know as a punter. We have no evidence of how he performs on good ground because he just hasn't run on it. You assume that the trainer has ascertained through training the horse that he can't run on good ground, but doesn't want to run on good ground. But I have not had a look at his knee action, so I wouldn't be able to give any insight on that. Next in the best, we've got Regional at the big old price of 20-1. So he's a horse who is very talented, but he's not actually got his head in front since I think 2023. He always runs admirably in sort of international and UK Group 1s, but his last time out was quite disappointing in the Group 3 behind Raja Bambi. He would only be a place play, surely, if you're interested in, as mentioned, the shape of the market doesn't lend itself to that. So is he one to move on from?
Yeah, probably. I mean, if you were to rank these horses according to who's the least likely to finish last, I'd have Regional, up there at second or third in the betting. Do you know what I mean? Least likely to finish last. This guy I'll give his running, you would have thought, when he gets his ground. Last time, maybe trainers, finding excuses, I don't know. But what the trainer said about last time when he was disappointing, as you say, couldn't beat Raja Bambi in a Group 3. It rained half an hour for that race, and it was apparently loose on top, and he apparently hated that. Now, if you make that excuse and you say this is a horse who wants just a solid, reliable surface that hasn't had rain or too much watering on it recently, he's going to get that tomorrow. Maybe as he's now getting older, maybe 5 furlongs is no longer what he wants. Maybe back to 6, where he indeed won the Haydock Sprint Cup works for him. He's never run over 6.5. The trainer thinks this could be a new angle, and if Regional came and won this, there are 20-1 winners of sprints that would just leave me shaking my head. But in a way, it wouldn't leave me shaking my head because when he gets his conditions, he's a very, very good horse. And this is slightly new, which might work for him. Now, I can't get there, and I'm not going to bet him. But yet again, it's just another horse that testifies to the extraordinary strength and race of this depth. The Regional's never started anything like the 21 he is in this race, in any other race of his life. And likable horse, can't quite get there.
Yeah, and do you have an excuse for his run last time out?
That was the one where the trainer said it was rained half an hour before the race, got loose on top.
Yeah, Ed Bethel. Okay. Next in the betting is Tribalist, who is available at 25. So, horse that we were quite keen on for the what's this, the 7 furlong race on Arc de
Forêt, yeah.
Yeah. Going through his form, it looks like his best form is all over a mile, and I think this could be a bit too sharp for him. Are you interested at all over the 6.5 furlongs?
That was my thinking, because you look back and it was that extraordinary Prix du Moulin where he demolished the likes of Sharon and all the rest of it at Longchamp, got his beloved soft ground, and kind of led the memory dance from the front, got the fractions right, the jockey. We quite liked him for the Moulin because again he got his for the Forêt, he got his, because he was going to get his very soft ground again, but he just didn't show up in that at all. Been disappointing since, and they dropped him to even 6 furlongs. And I'm thinking, what are they doing that for? This horse is on 6 furlongs, and he hasn't run well until last time when he runs very well behind Vatier over 6 furlongs. He's still carrying that Group 1 penalty for the Moulin win, so he's giving away £4. When you take away that, he's kind of finishing level. What's more, I don't know. He gets another half furlong here, but the worry again is the ground. Surely good plus ground at Deauville over 6.5 is going to be too sharp for Tribalist. Yeah. But yeah, again, Group 1 winner in the last year, who's in form as per last time. Suddenly you're getting 20, or was he 20s or 25s?
He's 25s. Yeah.
Some would say that's very big. Yeah, the ground rules are out for me. If it was soft, this would be just a really wrong price. But yeah, not quite.
Okay, and then the outside of the field is Sajir, who is 25 to 1. Assume Murphy on board. I expect him to go off a good bit bigger than this, right? Or do you see potential within his form to attract attention?
Yeah, I thought he'd be the or close to the outsider, but I do like this horse. He was a good winner of the Abonnement at Newmarket earlier this season. He was beaten behind Top Gear in France, but I thought the faster ground would help him, and I invested in him, and he posted 66 is also some very rewarding price for at Royal Ascot. Ceremony of Fate. This was would have been the Queen Elizabeth the 2 stakes, wouldn't it? The Lazzat race. Yeah. Anyway, he acted up, reared up in the stalls, got his legs caught, bruised them both, was withdrawn. So that never run. And I would have much preferred him there as an outsider than here back here at Deauville. He's won at Newmarket. He's won 3 times at Chantilly. He's run several times and never won at Deauville. No, I can't get there with this horse. But it's Andre Fabre, isn't it? He's just one of many things in the back of mind that think this horse is probably better than it's shown him. He's probably got a big one in him. Can't believe he's got one this big in him.
No, agreed. I don't think the form of the Abonnement was particularly strong this year, and he's not of interest. Okay, that is all 11 horses talked through. Some really quite positive mentions, obviously, for Top Gear, but probably the biggest of the at 16 to 1. Symbol of Honor and Shadow of Light, both of us were keen on for different reasons. You were lukewarmish to I don't know, just a slightly above room temperature in a Sharon, and then Raevka hoping for a bigger price, and Lazzat you're against. I'm not backing at 5 to 4, but I expect him to go and win.
Yeah, okay, and I'd rather have the rest of the field for me than with Lazzat. I agree, it's not quite the even money where that would be a 50-50 bet. Yeah. But it's a sprint, and there are a lot of good horses in here. He's too short.
Yeah,
for me.
Yeah. Well, I hope he goes and bolts up, because it's exciting, and it's been a while since we've had a European dominant sprinter. So it'd be good to see one go run up a sequence again. Right, well, thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Well done for making this far. It's a comprehensive preview. That's probably the longest we've had for, but quite well,
The Arc de Triomphe anti-post.
Yeah,
we gave 25 horses a good
yeah,
look, when we?
exactly.
That was a few minutes longer.
Yeah. Also, we do have that out. So if you're watching this and you haven't seen, we do have the ARC preview out. Hopefully that will stand the test of time, with no real key ARC races coming up until the Dreadmont and then the Irish Champions Weekend and ARC Trials Day. So that should all still be relevant. Head over to our Twitter, where we're still posting regularly different articles and what have you, quite a lot, as the markets open for Champions Day and the firm up a bit for ARC Day and Breeders' Cup. So yeah, lots going on. We're very busy at the minute, so please do like, subscribe, and keep on top of what we're churning out. And yeah, do comment. So thank you very much, everyone. Daniel, any last words?
No, just as we hope to see you again in a week's time or slightly less for the next major Deauville Group 1, which is the Jacques Le Marois, which currently has 35 potential entrants, but that's going to narrow it down. But it's going to be a cracker. So if not, and then York's coming up. So yeah, and until then, goodbye from us both.
Bye.